Secret Service on high alert after Trump woke up to disturbing discovery on his doorstep. Since the huge shakeup in the White House on Tuesday when President Donald Trump finally pulled the long-overdue plug on FBI Director James Comey's job, tensions have been high. While millions of Americans applauded our president for his assertive move, liberals were furious, despite Trump finally making good on their previous demand to fire Comey. Had it been Obama who did it, there would be no recourse. However, nothing Trump does goes without a negative response from the incensed left, as he was reminded of when he woke to a disturbing discovery right outside his door. Corruption in the administration is something that liberals cannot live without, and when Trump cleans house, they take it as an invitation to stoop to ever-increasing new lows. How easily and conveniently they forget that just a few months ago the left was calling for Comey's termination, but now that they got it, they flipped the script on Trump. Chaos has since ensued, and now the White House is on high alert for good reason. Our president was first attacked on social media by liberals from their safe spaces who had something to say, including loudmouthed celebrity windbag Whoopi Goldberg. While this is the common immediate response, it was just the start of worse to come, as was soon realized with what showed up on White House doorstep. Less than 24 hours after Trump made one of the best decisions in his presidency to date, swarms of angry and aggressive anti-Trump protesters took it to the streets directly in front of the White House. They were there to spread their hate for our president, who answered their call for Comey's firing a few months earlier but wanted to cause a riot about it now. However, it didn't end there, nor did it end well. These protesters know no bounds, and as the size of the pack grew, so did the fury. Their aggressive nature became a threat to our president's life, since all it would take is a split second for one of them to do something even more stupid than they already were. Secret Service kept them at bay the best they could as the ranting got louder and more out of control. The crowd is mostly forming because Americans want to protest the firing of FBI Director James Comey, who was helming the investigation into Trump's possible Russian ties. The protesters, like many others, are demanding a special prosecutor be assigned, Mediaite reported. It's an interesting new opinion, considering that in November, Democrats were wanting Comey fired for doing things that hurt Democrats, of course. When he closed the case on Hillary Clinton right before the election, he was in their good graces again, but it was only a matter of time before he did something else that crossed their party line. Many blame Comey for Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's losing the election. Comey famously released a letter to Congress just before the November 8 election indicating that he was reopening an investigation into how Clinton handled classified emails, LifeSet reported. The demonstration formed outside the White House on Tuesday was referred to as an emergency rally by MoveOn.org on Twitter, where they begged for more degenerates to show up. Many seemed to answer the call. Crowd rallying at the White House for #Comey firing and chanting Yates' big turnout despite being planned a few hours ago. #resist, one Twitter user proudly posted on social media. White House crowd now chanting rule of law, another protester tweeted from the scene. Some of the same people who wanted Comey fired a few months ago and protested for that were now screaming for a special prosecutor to investigate Trump, who gave them what they wanted. True to liberal form, they made no sense and only wanted to be outraged at something, it seems. Liberals are grossly misguided in what they want, or say they want, going the way of resistance solely for the sake rebuking our commander-in-chief on every decision and move he makes. They are willing to switch their stance on any given matter the second they receive the battle cry to do so, for which they mindlessly and blindly follow. Perhaps our president could use a reverse psychology tactic on them, since they are so programmed and predictable with these antics. Trump just bombarded these three dirty Dems with major surprise that will shut them up for good. The liberal snowflake meltdown over the past couple of days following Trump firing FBI Director Comey has been nothing short of hilarious to witness. The very same people who were screaming at the top of their freaking lungs and begging Barack Hussein Obama to fire Comey are now the very same idiots feigning outrage after Trump finally decided to take out the trash. As these morons are now labeling Trump a fascist and even calling for his impeachment over Comey's dismissal, President Trump had finally had enough. Calling out their hypocrisy in a way that only Trump can do, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, And Maxine Waters woke up to a nasty surprise this morning that immediately sent the trio of morons flying back into their land of unicorns and rainbows where they belong. Democrats are the biggest hypocrites on the face of the planet and wasted no time proving that to the world once again following Comey's firing. The usual clowns were out in force spinning the story and pushing their fake and cringeworthy outrage, as Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Maxine Waters lost their minds on all the liberal networks, trying to claim that Trump was trying to get rid of Comey because he has some sort of bombshell evidence about a Russian collusion. But Trump immediately decided to set the record straight on Comey and pushed out an epic 2-minute video where he tweeted out the truth so Americans could see just how full of crap and hypocrisy liberals truly are, along with the hashtag #DrainTheSwamp. Firing Comey has been long overdue and it's amazing that Trump kept him around this long in the first place. It's too bad that he can't be brought up on charges for dereliction of duty considering how he failed massively with his obligation to do his freaking job. Remember Comey's 15-minute press conference back in the day when he presented evidence for a solid case that should have led to the indictment of Hillary Clinton, but in the end he decided to play politics, refusing to hand the case over the Department of Justice? Thank God that President Trump is making good on his promise to drain the swamp while at the same time giving zero craps about whose feelings he hurts in the process. It's amazing that liberals are having such a cry fest over Comey getting fired, when he was the target of their rage and blamed for Hillary's election loss after he reopened the investigation back into her emails. What's even more hilarious is that now liberals are responding to Trump's firing of Comey by calling for an independent or special prosecutor to look into their ongoing propaganda that the Russians meddled in the 2016 elections. They're already pushing the narrative that the reason that Trump fired Comey was because he was hot on the trail to expose Trump's collusion with Russian associates. But of course we know that that is simply a witch hunt, as these idiots have yet to prove anything even remotely close about a Trump-Russia tie. Breitbart did an entire story on this several days ago. Over 100 days into Donald Trump's presidency, there still remains no evidence of collusion between his administration and Russian agents, despite mainstream media reports to the contrary. During a congressional hearing into alleged collusion between Donald Trump's presidential campaign and Russia, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper confirmed that he still had no evidence to support the claims. Last month, Clapper told NBC that the agency's investigations had yielded no such evidence. When asked by Senator Lindsey Graham, RSC, whether this is still the case, Clapper said, "It is." Meanwhile, former acting Attorney General Sally Yates revealed she had expressed concerns over Donald Trump's decision to appoint Mike Flynn as his national security advisor, but she failed to offer any evidence of collusion between the two parties. Yates also revealed that political ideology had influenced her decision to defy Trump's executive order suspending travel from several terror-prone countries in January, although she maintained her decision was made not purely as a policy matter. Trump later took to Twitter to criticize the investigation, describing it as a total hoax and a taxpayer-funded charade, pointing out the fact that there remains no evidence of collusion. In March, Chairman of the U.S. Congressional Committee on Intelligence Representative Devin Nunes also said he had seen no evidence of collusion based on the evidence he heard. Breaking, what the USS Truman was just caught doing has sent little Kim Jong-un into hiding. Since the moment President Donald Trump parked warships outside North Korea last month in a show of force, he's been playing little Kim Jong-un like the puppet he is. The North Korean leader acts tough with his marching army theatrics and taunting announcements of more weapons testing. However, now he's seemingly run scared into hiding after what the USS Truman was just caught doing after his threatened to sink one of our other aircraft carriers, the USS Carl Vinson, with a single strike. Kim has been all talk and only a humiliating show of force with his floppy weapons and failed launches. In the tug-of-war of power between him and Trump, he's getting pulled down fast as his game of looking big is proving just how small and incompetent he really is. However, he's recently gone strangely silent in the past couple of days and likely hiding in fear for his life, after panicking about what the USS Truman just did that sent one of the biggest messages to this little dictator, yet. The USS Harry S. Truman, that is part of the same class of aircraft carriers, the Nimitz class, as the Vincennes, which is important based on what is seen in footage that was just obtained from the Ultimate Military Channel. The Truman, which is the same size and has the same capabilities as the Vincennes parked outside North Korea, pulls a quick, yet impressive stunt, in this footage, which could be devastating for the country if and when the Vincennes decides to do it too and shut Kim Jong-un up for good, and our military is more than ready and willing to do it when the dictator least expects it while thinking he's safe in his hiding spot. The massive rig makes a sharp right turn on a dime, which is a pretty impressive skill for a ship this size, but not nearly as much as the effect it causes when traveling at a high speed, which the Truman was in this video. Witnessing the incredible power and stress put on the ship and what it can do should it be given orders to, is the difference between America's military power and North Korea's, which is merely a set-up props put in place to look tough but can do no damage. According to the accompanying caption, this extraordinarily rare vision of an aircraft carrier conducting this type of action was captured during sea trials to train sailors and to ensure the operational capability of systems and equipment, Tactical Clips reports. This isn't the only aircraft carrier of its kind at America's disposal. We have a total of 9 others that can do major damage to North Korea and their amateur munitions. They picked the wrong country to mess with and made it worse for themselves when they didn't back down to our real show of force that their fake one is no match for. Instead, Kim Jong-un is looking for a clean pair of pants after seeing what this bad boy is warming up to do to his silly little country. It's doubtful that Kim has any more tough talking to do about the Vincennes and his plans to take this Goliath out. Tactical Clips continues with more damning details about this massive rig that North Korea can't touch. The Nimitz-class supercarriers are a category of 10 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers actively serving in the United States Navy. The lead ship of the fleet is named after the World War II U.S. Pacific Fleet commander, Admiral Chester Nimitz, the Navy's last fleet admiral. If only Kim's bark was as big as his bite, he might be taken seriously, but his mouth is writing checks that his backside can't cash. Not that he cares, but his ego and apparent mental illness is putting every life on his island in danger for what's coming their way if he doesn't back down. Every action he takes is a provocation of war, and he's only fortunate that America has restrained this long, but his luck is about to run out. Kim Jong-un can run and hide, but he'll have to resurface sometime, and when he does, it better be with him waving a white flag.